Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel. Please be sure to like and follow the page so you don't miss an upcoming video. Today, let's talk about layoffs, that dreaded word that conjures up so much stress, frustration, maybe some uncertainty, maybe a lot of uncertainty, let's be honest. Losing a job is hard, and there are a lot of things to navigate when it comes to a layoff, and I'm going to share with you my own experience as well as some things that you can take and apply to your own journey so that the next time, and if you ever are laid off, you are prepared to navigate this whole process with a little bit more confidence. Okay, first and foremost, take a deep breath. Give yourself some time to process. It's a lot. I gave myself a week with nothing planned. I slept when I wanted to sleep. I exercised as I felt I had the energy to exercise, and I just sat and cried as I needed to. You need to give yourself some time to emotionally process everything because it's a lot. Thankfully, I was in a season where my kids were still in school, so I had that extra time during the day. But if you are in a season where your kids are home, if you have kids, find ways to just go and be by yourself and have that time to really process and decompress. So that's my first advice, is just breathe and give yourself some time. Second of all, there's paperwork. There's things you're going to need to sign. There might be some equipment you have to return, like a laptop, to your employer. And you're going to need to really sit down and go through it with a fine-tooth comb because you don't want to overlook anything that could come back later to bite you. So taking the time to go through whatever it is they provide you in terms of your exit and your obligations, understand it and understand your timeline for those. Because sometimes there are hard deadlines when things have to be returned and things like that. I mean, apps even on your phone, you may need help getting them removed from your phone. So just make sure you take into account what needs to be done and how much time you're going to need to get it taken care of. Most often, you are given a separation agreement. That is a legal document. And when you look at that from a state of a lot of mixed emotions, it is not the easiest thing to understand. I actually hired an employment attorney. I wanted to understand what the heck I was signing. I wanted to know my rights. I wanted to know if there was anything I should be asking my employer before I sign and turn it in. Highly recommend looking for an employment attorney who can help you navigate all that. The bigger the company, the higher the chance is that an employment attorney that you hire has worked with other people before you who have been laid off from that company. So they're going to have lots of insights that you wouldn't have otherwise. So it was definitely worth that expense to me. Past the paperwork, you need to really look at your own cash flow. You need to find ways to cut as much as you can. If you are losing one of two sources of income in your family, you still want to make cuts. You want to reduce as many expenses as possible until that income is replaced. So, pausing all investments, not touching the money, but just pausing contributions. That's something that we did. We canceled certain subscriptions. There's a lot of things we don't need. There's things that we want, but there were things that we decided we could live without for now. So that was another thing. You may also want to consider what's called utility budget billing. You can call your utility companies and say, hey, I would like to be on the budget billing, so you get a bill for the same amount every month and it's not variable. Electric bills in particular can vary a lot. So a budget billing can be a great way to just help you have a little bit more predictability in your cash flow from month to month. The other thing you want to consider is maybe you just need to pause on giving. Maybe there are contributions you've been making to charities that you just need to pause or pull back a little bit on so that you can get through this crisis situation of a job loss. If you find yourself doing everything you possibly can, but you are still worried about meeting your obligations for certain bills like your mortgage, call them. Call your lenders, let them know about your hardship. They do have policies in place to offer assistance, whether that's pausing your bill, giving you a grace period of a couple of months. They have things, but you need to call and let them know your situation and have that open, honest communication. and they're going to work with you. They are willing to work with you. Part of your employment probably included some benefits. Many people have health insurance, life insurance, long-term disability insurance through their employer. Find out your options from your employer on what it would look like to port or basically take your life and your long-term disability insurance with you. Also look at the options of completely replacing them and getting your own policies so that it's never tied to your employer again. Health insurance was, for us, the hardest thing to replace. We wanted to not only look at our options for the carriers and who all of our providers would accept, but we also had to consider the frequency of our appointments and the prescriptions and which one was really going to be the best for us to offer the coverage that we needed. And that was, I will be honest, the hardest part of the whole separation navigation. It was a lot of work and it was tedious. But I have to say, hiring an insurance broker to help with that was the best decision we ever made. We've worked with this insurance broker in the past, but they understood so much about the health insurance industry that we just wouldn't be able to learn overnight. So you definitely want to rally some people around you who have some insight, have some prior experience to help you with some of these big decisions that you'll be making. If you have an HSA through your employer, find out what the fees are for keeping it where it is. Also look at your options for relocating it. I'm not talking about withdrawing it. I'm talking about kind of basically doing a rollover from that company that currently holds it to somewhere else. So it's not touching your bank account and it won't incur any taxes and things like that. Investing. This is another area that you want to look at. If you have a 401k with your employer, you don't have to rush and do anything with it right away. That's the beautiful thing. It can sit there, it can keep growing money while you are dealing with everything else. But you will want to consider at some point rolling it over into an IRA perhaps. Again, rallying people around you who have intel in this area, have expertise. That's the word I'm looking for. The people who have the expertise in this. An investment advisor can help you with this. They can help you understand your options for rolling it into something else so that you have complete control over it and it's not tied to your previous employer. Again, it's not something you have to rush and do within the first month of losing your job. Thankfully, it's not time sensitive, but there are definitely things you want to consider with that, and just, you don't want to forget it. You don't want to leave it and forget it. You want to do something with it. Okay, the fun part, not the fun part. You need to look at your eligibility for unemployment. What does it look like to file for unemployment? What documents do you need to file for unemployment? Your employer should be proactively providing it to you, but you want to make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and that you have what you need to move forward with that. It varies from state to state in terms of who's eligible, how much you can get, so that's something that you're really going to want to spend a little time understanding. Some states require that while you're receiving unemployment, you have to be documenting how many jobs you're applying for. What's the status on those applications? So just know what you're getting into when you file for unemployment. You want to monitor if you are receiving severance pay, if your employer offers it, and if you have any PTO, if you have any vacation time or sick leave banked in your account at work, they're going to cash that out and they're going to issue it to you as basically a paycheck. Just know that unfortunately the severance and the PTO payout are taxed at a much higher rate than your typical monthly paycheck. But you want to keep track of what is the money that you may be receiving and just keep tabs on when you might receive it. It can take weeks, unfortunately. So you need a plan in place between your last paycheck and when you receive that money. And that leads me into updating your spending plan. You've made cuts, you've gone through and estimated what it is that you can live without, and you've found ways to save money for the short term. But you want to know also, what is it that you're going to have to start saying no to for now? There are going to be things that come up. There's always things that come up. And what is it that you are able to do with your current cash flow, and what can't you do? And if you are losing a job where it's the only source of income, you're going to want to spend some time going through your emergency fund and really calculating out how long can you make that last for. It is not fun, but it is so much better knowing than not knowing. So take the time to run the numbers, knowing what your bills are and all of that. How long can you last on just that money alone? And then, of course, take into consideration, if you do file for unemployment, how much is that, and what is that money going to help you with from month to month? Okay, that is everything I have to share about navigating a layoff. It's a hard situation, but it's not an impossible situation, and you can get through it. So I would love to know your experience with this. So comment below if you have anything to share, and please like the video and share it with others. If you found this helpful, share it with somebody that could benefit from this information too.